Texas Democratic Party Chair Kendall Scudder, thank you so much and welcome back to Eye on Politics.
Thanks for having me.
So, we are talking before the municipal elections, and I've noticed the trend over the years that while these municipal elections for local school boards and for cities, these are nonpartisan positions, and yet they have become more political. Why is that, do you think? And are you, as a party, starting to recruit candidates to start in local school boards, for example, to try to help them gain a following and then move up into higher office?
So it's a direct result of money in politics. The Republican Party has been taking giant checks from billionaires for years, and as a result of being a little over resourced, they've started moving to these nonpartisan races. As a party, traditionally, we've tried to keep those races nonpartisan, but it's becoming harder and harder to do that, and our hands are being a little bit forced. So I would foresee in the future both parties starting to really try to put horses in these types of races so that they can jockey for support. It helps build name ID for long-term political success. But also, the further down an office is on the ballot, the closer it is to your front door. And so you can start to really impact people's lives in these local elections. Republicans seem to have caught on to that a little bit earlier than we did, and I think we're quickly scrambling to catch up.
I was just going to ask you, what are you doing in response?
Yeah, I mean, what you're going to start seeing is the party having very robust recruitment mechanisms there, training mechanisms to try to help train those candidates once they're recruited and put into that place, and then policy support. You've already seen that with Republicans across the board, with groups like the Heritage Foundation, and the groups that wrote programs like this Project 2025 that is talked about so much. They've put a lot of resources into trying to create uh, stenciled policy that you can just move across the board. We've tried to keep our policy creations local, but unfortunately, it seems that the times are adapting such that we're going to have to be a little bit better at making sure that we're capitalizing and trying to make those gains as well.
Also wanted to ask you about the school choice bill that's going to become law of the land here in Texas. And I'm just wondering, what will Democrats do moving forward now that it is becoming law? How do you respond with the 2026 elections coming up?
Yeah, y'all are calling it school choice, but I don't really understand why you're calling it that. It has nothing to do with school choice. In states like Arkansas, where they've passed these bills, 95% of the people who use these vouchers already have their kids in private school. So, really, it's a new entitlement program where rich people get to benefit on the backs of working class people. And so, sure, I'm happy to talk about that new entitlement program that Republicans just passed for welfare for the well off. We're going to do everything we can to roll those types of programs back. But unfortunately, Democrats don't have the levers of power to try to control that. Every Democrat stood up and voted against this plan that's going to defund public schools to give coupons to rich people. And the Republicans have chosen to move forward on it. So at this point, there isn't a lot that we can do on the policy front other than trying to litigate, which you very well may see. We're going to do everything and use every tool within our wheelhouse to try to protect community public schools from this onslaught of billionaires that are trying to keep our kids uneducated so they can keep their wages low.
Let me ask you about that because on what legal grounds do you think there are that Democrats can push back and file a lawsuit against the state when 30 other states already have this kind of or a similar program?
Well, what makes Texas unique is that you have a constitutional right in Texas to a public education, and to a well-funded public education at that. And we're currently looking to figure out if there are ways for us to accomplish that. We're going to do whatever we can to try to protect community public schools. But let's be honest, it's a bit of a Hail Mary right now. Whenever you elect people to public office, there are going to be consequences to that. And unfortunately, any community who loves their public schools or their public school teacher are about to learn what happens when you elect Republicans to public office.
And just one other question on this topic, and that is for 2026, how does this motivate your party, do you think, going forward?
Public schools are the single greatest tool for upward economic mobility on the globe. And so a party that's advocating and fighting for working class people like the Democratic Party, it's huge and instrumental in who we are as a party. American public school system is your line of defense to lift yourself up from poverty, to work hard and accomplish the American dream. And so, to me, and from my perspective, public schools are the cornerstone of who we are as a party and what we believe. And so it's going to be an outsized portion of our messaging moving forward into 2026 because the public didn't want this. We tried to simply take it to a vote of the public, and Republicans wouldn't even let you vote on it. So they know it's unpopular. We know it's unpopular. The difference is they don't want you to have a say on it, and we do.
And we have about a little over a month left for the legislative session to come to an end. What are you, as a party chair and the Democratic Party in the state, most focused on with the time remaining?
The clock and trying to run it out. I mean, honestly, every time that the Texas legislature is meeting, they're assaulting personal liberties, freedoms, local control, and your opportunities for you and your kids' future successes. And so, what we're most focused on is how do we get through this thing and create the least amount of damage as possible. They aren't interested in passing bills that make your life easier or try to help you. When we've been trying to put out amendments to these bills to try to lower your taxes or to try to make your life more affordable, they object to them over and over again. And so that the number one thing we're focused on right now is the clock and trying to make sure that it runs out and that we are safeguarding and protecting the rights of Texans to the best of our ability.
As you know, Governor Abbott is now pushing hard for bail reform, and 12 House Democrats are needed to pass this constitutional amendment. And I'm wondering, is this something where do you think Democrats will join Republicans, or are Democrats going to, put their foot down and say, no, we're not going to do this?
So the Democrats tried to make a deal with the Republicans, and they threatened that we would block all these constitutional amendments if they didn't agree to put vouchers to a vote of the public. And they failed to put vouchers to a vote of the public. And so as a result, I would hope that the Democrats would make true to their word and they would move forward with trying to block any of these constitutional amendments moving forward until the Texan public have a right to vote on whether or not they are going to have their community schools raided by billionaires. And so it would be my position for the remainder of this session that the Democrats should continue to block any constitutional amendments until the public has a right to vote on preserving their community public schools.
And my last question to you, Chairman, is any updates about upcoming Senate races, the Senate race, the governor's race, lieutenant governor, Texas Attorney General? I know it's very early, but you're out there. Are you trying to recruit candidates very hard? We've already seen, at least for the Senate race, that former Congressman Colin Allred is taking a look at the Senate seat. We've heard about State Senator Nathan Johnson looking for potential higher office. So, how's that effort going on your part?
So I've now breached 30 days as chairman of the party. So yes, we're starting to have a lot of these discussions. I'm very excited about the candidates who I'm hearing floated for these offices. I stay out of primaries because I'm the chief primary administrator for our party. I know that the Republican chairman doesn't choose to do that, but I think that the public should have the right to make those decisions about who our nominees are and how we move forward. But the names that I've heard are very exciting, and I'm very confident that we're going to have a great slate put together for 2026 so that we can topple their Republican U.S. Senate nominee that I assume will be Ken Paxton.
Care to share any other names?
I will let people make announcements on their own. My job is not to jockey for particular candidates. It's to run the primary and to treat everybody fairly, and that's what I intend to do.
All right, we will leave it there. Texas Democratic Party Chair Kendall Scudder, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Jack. I appreciate it.